So my name is Chris Goodfellow. I am currently with STG Logistics. I am the Senior Director of WMS Operations, focused on continuous improvement for our Contract Logistics division. STG, if you know, has many divisions. There are three main divisions: Container Freight Station, Transportation, and Contract Logistics. So I'm specifically for the Contract Logistics group and focused on continuous improvement. So I've been with STG for 3 years, working with a bunch of products, including Synapse. But my experience with Synapse goes back much further. At my former company, I started working with Synapse in 2010. So I have 12 years total experience working directly with Synapse. In my former role, I was the Vice President of IT, directly influencing the configuration, the use, and the standards and the practice of all aspects of Synapse and all its intertwining components. So early in my career, I started working with ZethCon, and I found that the technical support was very effective, very responsive, very specific to the answers. Of course, always, if you give good information, you get great responses, right? So there's a responsibility in the partnership between the vendor and the customer. But very favorable experiences over the last 12 years working with ZethCon. I know all the senior people at ZethCon, know them by name, they know me by name, and that's always a very impressive thing that you can remember. With how many customers you have, you can remember each specific person. So it's a personal touch. You know, it's an approachable company. So most of our customers, especially at my current role in my current company, most of the customers have been long-term customers. 10, 12 years. So they're very familiar with the product. They're very familiar with what they can access and what reports they can get. And of course, much like ZethCon, STG is a very customer-focused company. So we're going to develop specific reports for them. We're going to get them the information the way they need to see it and in a timely manner. So I think their experience overall has been very good. I do work with some of the customers directly on continuous improvement aspects, improving transaction sets, improving communications, things like that, functionality that we may or may not be using currently but is available, and their response is generally favorable. Well, in all fairness, my involvement with direct communication with ZethCon and support and functionality and those types of things in the last 3 years has been less than it had been prior. But at least in the last 3 years over the pandemic, I did not notice any lapse of coverage, any different response times. I think that they planned very well and were able to support everybody through the pandemic, whether that be through new hires or new ads. I really couldn't speak to it, but I did not notice any type of diminishment of service. The success of your implementation is going to be based on your ability to define what your requirements are, right? So if you define it well, Synapse is a wonderful system. I've worked with 4 or 5 different ERP and WMSs. I've even written my own back early in my career. And I will say that the Synapse WMS is probably the most user-friendly system I've ever used. The screens are laid out well. It's easy to understand. There's lots of features, other aspects to it. At my former company, I used to go on sales calls with the sales representatives, and I'd be able to demonstrate all the screens. And in my experience, having Synapse and having those functionality really made the difference when you're communicating with a potential new customer. I think it's very well tailored to the audience that's present. You know, not all of us are beginners, not all of us are, you know, experienced super users. So, you know, everybody has a different need, but I think that ZethCon's done very well in presenting topics that are important to the majority of the people that are present.